Hi, thanks for tuning into High on Horror. I'm Drew.
And I'm John. This episode and every future episode is dedicated to all the horror hounds and smokers out there who want to expand their knowledge of the genre and have a good time.
Today we're talking about Motherly from 2021. This is one of those movies that if you haven't seen it, after you hear us talk about it, we bet that you're going to say to yourselves, I need to see this. It's an intense thriller with big emotions, big feels, and to take us even deeper into the film, we have the director and co-writer with us, Craig David Wallace. He's going to spill his guts to us in an exclusive interview today. All that and more today on High on Horror. Interviews, reviews, and the latest news all rolled into one. Oh yeah! Alright, so we're going to start this episode off the right way like we always do, by getting baked. So it's time for Strain Wreck. If you hear that train rolling, you know that it's Strain Wreck time, the segment of our show where we talk about what we're smoking in this episode. Today I actually got some weed for once. I was the one that provided the bud. I got us some Fatso from the dispensary, but John, like always, you read down the description. Break it down for us, brother.
He paid for drugs, not once. Josh, throw in that Dewey Cox sale.
I carried the whole first season. You carried the whole second season. Now we got to do like a 50-50 for the third season.
Yeah, had to have Sub-Zero. I ain't had to have Sub-Zero gushers in a while.
Yeah, right.
But today we got some Fatso. I don't know if that's from... I wonder if that's a Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Last week we did Cotton Candy. This week we're doing Fatso.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, not even planned. I'll tell you, half of this shit, I know people are probably like, they fucking planned it this way.
Nope.
We're just terrible. We just
you would think
like, that'd be cool to plan, but by accident we end up, I guess.
It's a lucky coincidence.
Like the Graham Skipper month. See, I just wanted to bring that up just so I could say his name right this time. If Graham Skipper ever listens to this, he's just gonna be like, "What the hell, man?" Like I was on that third episode and like he mispronounced my name for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Fatso here. It's 28% THC. It's very calming. Dude, look at this bar for the low THC to the high. Like, that shit's almost all the way filled.
Damn. Yeah.
And I got like a Samsung. It's swole. It go at a thick boy. Anyway, this cross, it's of GMO cookies. I swear to God, Cotton Candy
cookies,
last
man.
week was a cross of GMO cookies.
I think it was.
And Legend OG, it comes from Colorado breeder Canorado. Not for... I like this. Not for the faint of lungs. I'm excited. Fatso is a newer strain that caters to gas, kush, and cookies alike. This funky, fuel-tasting indica is high in THC and comes covered in trichomes, making it great for hash. Make sure you're close to the couch for this one. You won't want to get up. This is one of the best descriptions we've had so far. That is amazing.
Look, when I read that description, I go, I want that weed. And it's right here in front of us. That's awesome.
I mean, but the problem is we're trying to do a podcast. And its top effect is sleepy.
So basically what's going to happen is by the time we get to the outro, we're going to be a blubbering mess, which happens every fucking episode anyway lately.
Yeah, but maybe now worse. Maybe it's just going to be like 5 minutes of like just radio silence of us just like snoring.
Yeah, just snoring, waking up, huh?
Sleepy, relaxed, and tingly. I always like tingly. That's a lie. I was going to say, I've never felt tingly from weed. I don't think it's from the weed. I think it's when I'm hacking my lung up and getting lightheaded from coughing. Yeah. That's when I get the tingly. Wow, I didn't know that's a flavor. I thought that was a smell. But flavors it has listed as diesel. The next one is pungent.
Pungent, okay.
Ammonia.
Okay.
But negatives, let's see. Nope, not on there. It's just dry eyes, anxious, dry mouth, and paranoid. So we're going to be tired and paranoid?
At the same time, and recording a podcast.
What was it? I was thinking of Grandma's Boy, where he's like, this one's the brown bomber, you'll shit your pants. And he's like, oh, I'm good on that one. So I'm going to be paranoid and sleepy. I don't know if I want that, but I'm still going to smoke it.
Do you have a lighter?
I have a lighter. It's in my book bag, so if you hear me jostling around.
That's okay. Well, I was going to bring up, while you get that started, so Peacock, by the way, we are not getting paid to mention Peacock. We don't get anything from them yet.
It's called The Cock.
But we're not we don't partner with them like we do Shudder or anything yet. But I have to drop it here because it's just really cool news that they've been kicking ass. They've been having like Cocaine Bear and they're getting John Wick 4 in a couple of weeks. And the newest news is that there is a Satanic Panic show hitting Peacock as a Peacock original. It's supposed to be, I'm not sure exactly when it's coming out. It's supposed to be this year, I believe, but it's called Hysteria, and it stars Bruce Campbell. And he plays a cop basically in a town where it's like at the peak of when there was Satanic Panic in the 1980s, and it's going to be all about like high school and like heavy metal and shit like that. And Bruce basically plays an old-fashioned cop, so I'm sure he's going to be the comedic relief in that. But Bruce doing more horror, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. My sister's never really watched anything Bruce Campbell, and I told you like she's a huge fan of the Practical Jokers. We went to go see Kevin Smith and the one Duke Q when he was there. So they actually had their Bruce Campbell episode air. My sister's like, Bruce Campbell is a dick. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, why do people like him? The dude just seems like a dick. I was like, because he made Evil Dead.
he's very confident, and it's dry sarcasm. And if you, I've told my wife Sam this. If you don't get it, you'll think he's an asshole. The way he like acts and shit, But if you understand, you'll laugh it off. And my wife's like, well, why is it funny when he does it, but not funny when I do it? Because it's Bruce fucking Campbell.
You're not Bruce Campbell.
But no, that's funny you say that. So an outsider who doesn't like get the Bruce Campbell thing, like your sister, totally thought it was dicky of him. I mean, I get
she
it.
Was
though,
like,
if you don't get the sarcasm,
I don't understand why people don't like him. I was like, you made Evil Dead. I was like, that's all he's got to do.
True that. That is all he's got to do. And Army of Darkness, and
I mean, I got to be honest. My favorite Evil Dead thing is Ash versus Evil Dead. Just like as of all the Evil Dead stuff, I know. We talked about the movies, but that would just be my favorite, hands down, would be Ash versus Evil Dead.
Yeah, if I thought about that earlier when I saw Evil Dead Rise for the third time today.
Is it better the third time? Just the same?
In my opinion, hasn't changed.
Okay.
I just get more excited like when I know what's coming. But I was thinking earlier that when we reviewed the Evil Dead series in our episode review of Rise, we didn't mention the show. And I was going to say, if we had mentioned the show, to me, the show would have been number 2. I would have done Evil Dead 2, the show, Ash vs. Evil Dead, then Evil Dead 1, then Rise, then Army of Darkness, then the reboot. But so it's funny you would have put it at 1. It's the same thing. We just like what we said last week. Our 1 and 2s are like the same. They're just swapped.
Yeah, I mean, I love the TV show so much.
I do too, dude. It was so.
I feel like it's the perfect mix of the gore and just
the comedy, dude,
and just the perfect, like, I don't know, just like I feel like it's the full Ash experience. Like,
Agreed. It's 5 hours of Ash as opposed to like an hour and a half. But no, the by far, we might as well talk about it while we're here. By far, my favorite thing in that entire show was when Bruce gets pulled up. I'm sorry, Ash gets pulled up the corpse's ass. And
that's a pretty good one.
He's like, no, not the butt, not the butt. And then he's getting his head shoved up the ass, and he's like, get your dick off my face. And it's like all like a pierced dong, like, yeah, man, fucking hilarious.
I was gonna say one of my favorite moments from the show is literally the opening when he's in the bathroom with that woman, and he's like, all right. He's like, how about we focus on me for a bit? He said something like, it's been like 3 minutes. How about we focus on me for a minute?
And he's like smacking her ass with his wooden hand. Yeah.
And like all the like supporting characters in it were all good.
I agree. And but I think that show really, really got the chance to showcase like how much of a good comedic actor Bruce Campbell is. Like you see Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, and that's one thing. But when you see the show and at his age, you're like, and it's his line delivery, man. You're like, this dude, it really is comedic gold. Like he should do more comedies. Like if he was a leading man in more comedies, like even if it was like a romantic comedy and he was the lead, I guarantee you I'd be laughing my ass off.
And I think if that show had come out now, in the streaming age that we have now, because that was kind of when you were, I mean, you had streaming services, but it was more you were still relying on those like cable channels, and they could only do it on a premium cable channel. Mm-hmm. With everything out, like even, I mean, hell, Shudder, like I feel like it would have been more successful than it just being on Stars, which was always the like premium movie channel that like nobody had.
Yeah, right.
Like everybody made sure to have HBO and Showtime. They were usually kind of packaged, and Stars like.
Yeah, I literally. So here's the deal. I don't know if I ever told you this or not. I literally when Ash vs Evil Dead got canceled, I unsubscribed from Stars like immediately because I'd already bought the shows on Blu-ray anyway, and so I was like, I'm not going to need to watch it, and I was pissed at them for canceling it. And that was the only reason I had that app. Like you said, like there was no other reason to have it. And when I canceled my subscription, it said I could answer optionally why I canceled my subscription. And I hit them with a quote from Army of Darkness. I said, "Honey, you got real ugly." That was my comment. I left it at that. But yeah, like you said, I agree with you because I literally was like, "Well, I don't need this anymore." And
I remember you're like, "I guess I got to pay for Stars when the show came out."
Yeah.
Remember, what was it? You, me? Oh no, I don't think Kenny was there.
No, it was you, me, and my sister, right, and my wife. I think we did like every week we got together and watched a new episode. Yeah,
especially the first couple ones we got together.
The first season, I think, maybe.
Dude, I just remember everybody was fucking dying watching it.
I literally, I'm using the word literally a lot this episode. But I was in another room, and I had left Ash vs Evil Dead playing in the living room, and I heard my wife out there cracking up, and it made me laugh when I'm like, my wife, who's not even like big into horror like that, catches a minute or two of the episode and cracks up about it.
Dude,
like, it's a funny fucking show.
I was just pointing. I wasn't trying to. I still got to take my head. I'm just pointing with the lighter. My bad. That's my fault. That's on me. I got to be careful with my body language. But I was going to say, like, Nicole does not like gory movies for the most part. I mean, she liked the Saw movies, but that's, they kind of had a plot. She loved Ash vs Evil Dead. We were watching it one time, and
really, she likes it.
Yeah, she watched the whole series. We the one time we were watching it, because awesome. I was rewatching it because I had never finished season 3.
Yeah.
And I was rewatching it, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to watch this? See if you like it." We were on season 2, and I like fell asleep, and I woke up, and she was still like, she's like, "Oh, you fell asleep. I'm 3 episodes ahead now." And I'm like, "Oh, geez." Nice. Like, I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "I guess you really do like this." But it's funny because the Evil Dead movie came out. I'm like, "Do you want to see it?" I don't know, maybe. But it's like, it's just, she loved the Ash vs Evil Dead TV show.
Hey, I mean, like I said, it was a good show, but I realized we've been over here greasing Bruce's wheels for the last like 10 minutes.
I realized it, but I had to make one last point. But yeah, it was funny because this all just started because I said my sister said Bruce Campbell was a dick on Impractical Jokers, and we have spent, I don't know, probably like almost about 10 minutes at this point just going on about Evil Dead.
Hopefully
for no reason.
You listeners like Evil Dead and Bruce Campbell. If
not, just skip through it. Well, I guess it's too late at this point, so go back in time and then skip this part. But
hear what John has to say, because you have something you want to talk about.
We haven't even got on what I saw this week. For Blade, Marvel Studios, they're going to have the True Detective creator, Nick Palazzo. Mm-hmm. He's going to be writing it.
Okay.
And then I could never pronounce that guy's name, Mahershala Ali.
Yeah.
He was in season 3 of True Detective. He's already cast to play Blade. And then from Lovecraft Country, Jan Demange is going to be directing it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah.
And
me too. I mean, that's a good team. I like that. So, yeah.
And it's scheduled for release September 6th of next year, though. So
they're taking their time with it, man. They've
still got to wait. I mean, hey, if you're going to make the movie better, take your time.
That's true, but I'm just like, how many rewrites is this? Like, Marvel's slipping when this is like the 3rd, 4th time I've heard about there being rewrites, man. And but I love Blade, and the Blade 2 was like one of my favorite comic book movies ever. So I'm definitely down for new Blade, but it isn't going to be rated R the last time I heard. So that's a little Blade should be rated R, but
which you think they should because whatchamacallit? Deadpool.
Yeah.
He rated R, and his next one's still going to be rated R too.
Logan was rated R too, man, but
I didn't realize that Blade has been around since the 70s.
Yeah, he made he made his first appearance in a Spider-Man comic, I believe.
The Tomb of Dracula.
That
July
was
of 73.
Yes. And then he was in some Spider-Man comics.
Apparently Mia Goth is going to be in it as well.
Yeah, she was cast.
I forgot about that.
And who the hell else was it? Damn, you're gonna really get me with that. It was that was it because she was also cast in Frankenstein. I'd mentioned that on a prior episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mia Goth still making moves as the love interest, Henry Frankenstein's
the monster's love interest.
She's not the bride.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been I guess rocky road would be the best choice to describe what's been going on. But I mean, all this has been good news lately. So hopefully things pick back up with it. They still got till September of next year, so they got, at the time of this recording, about a year and a half before it comes out.
Yes, let's get it right, guys.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Did you ever watch the TV series?
Nope. Never even gave a shit about it.
Wow.
No Wesley Snipes.
You don't want to see Sticky Fingers?
No Wesley Snipes. I'm out.
Wesley Snipes. Was he in prison at the time that came out?
I don't know. I think he might have been, but I'm pretty sure they weren't paying what he was asking. That show was low budget crap.
Damn.
But
tell us how you really feel.
all right. Well, I guess that's it. So let me take this hit real quick, and then we'll get on into horror history.
This week in horror history.
All right, getting into some horror history here. I mentioned this previously. Yeah, who the hell knows? We're recording a couple episodes. I forget what order in the. Yeah, I think it's a couple episodes again, or it might be in the future. I don't know. But as I said, second best Friday the 13th, part 2, 1981.
1981. Yeah, man, we've said it before, but 2 is really one of the finer sequels in that in the Friday the 13th series. It is a fucking solid slasher film.
Yeah, and if you want to know more about it, we've done an episode, and we talked to Laura Marie Taylor about it.
That's right.
Graduation Day, 1981.
Another 1981 slasher. Now, this is a very good slasher movie and very underrated. This is one when I talk to people about it, they say they've either seen it and don't remember it, or they've heard of it. But it will never leave my collection, because when you go through the history of slashers, I consider it to be an essential. And it stars a young Linnea Quigley, who's just as sweet as pie in the film. This was actually her second role, and the film was shot in just 3 weeks. So and there's some really good deaths in there as well.
What is it about the 80s, man, that like fucking every day has a fucking horror movie?
That was all Halloween, man. April Fool's Day, graduate. Literally Halloween did that. Everything was let's
prom night, like for Groundhog Day with Bill Murray.
No, like for a prom night, like literally they were tapping out fucking holidays so much that they're like, let's just start doing school dances too.
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah,
like,
birthdays,
goddamn,
proms.
Man.
Yeah, they went for
ridiculous. Everything. Yeah, we should start a revival and just start doing like the more obscure ones, like let's do Arbor Day, Flag Day.
Yeah, right.
Next up from 1987, we have Creepshow 2.
Oh man, that's one of the best anthology films and sequels ever conceived. I like the stories in this one more than some of the ones in the first film, but that cast in the first film, man, and that really sells it, and there's 5 stories in the first movie and only 3 in this one, but The Hitchhiker is the best story for me, am I right?
Yeah, but
thanks for the ride, lady.
I still like the first one better.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm saying, like, do you think The Hitchhiker is the best story of the sequel?
Oh, yeah.
I like The Raft as well, but yeah, thanks for the ride, lady. That's the one. That was the one where you're like, yo, that was a badass story right there.
I mean, you can't go wrong with either Creepshow.
No, you really can't.
And 1987, Psychos in Love.
Yeah, man, great little love story in the vein of like Natural Born Killers. But
I guess this came before Natural Born Killers.
Well, yeah, it's ridiculous and a lot of fun. But I usually watch it on Valentine's Day, but I was too busy this year. All I got to was My Bloody Valentine. I always watch that one.
I usually watch Valentine. Nicole likes that one, so.
David Bananas.
Yeah. He's going to own the Flyers soon, and we're going to be amazing again. Fucking Angel's going to own a hockey team. 1996, The Craft.
I always liked The Craft, but you're not a fan, right?
I watched it for the first time I have to say it's within the last year.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
Nicole loves the movie. If I remember correctly, like I said, I've only seen it once. I believe I said something along the lines is, you're supposed to like these girls, but they're a bunch of manipulative bitches, so why the hell would I like them? The movie's good. I don't have a problem. I just fucking hate all the girls in that movie. They're fucking terrible.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
There's not really many good people in that movie.
No, there's not. Even Skeet Ulrich's a dick.
Oh, wow. Skeet's playing a dick. There's a surprise.
Big surprise.
It's like Jason Bateman playing a sarcastic character.
Yeah.
Tales from the Dark Side, 1990. I'm sorry, Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
Well, this is seriously a front runner for best anthology film, in my opinion. Even as Graham Skipper, he even said that when we had him on. Tales from the Dark Side is such a great movie with a great cast, and with George Romero directing. Funny enough, this was supposed to be Creepshow 3, but the rights fell through, so they still made the movie. They just retitled it to fit the television series of the same name.
I mean, if we're going to talk best anthology movies, I'd probably have to go Allegoria.
Took you serious for a second. Oh, man. No.
Oh, man, it's still Creepshow for me.
It's Creepshow 1 for me, but I think Tales from the Dark Side. It's like 1A Creepshow, 1B Tales from the Dark Side. I mean,
Tales
239,
from the Hood might be number 2 for me.
Oh, Tales from the Hood, my God.
Why can't I think of the dude's name? With the afro.
I always think of his name. I know I'm gonna mess it up. Is it Terrence
I always
Fisher?
know it off the top of my head, but now
Terrence
that when
Fisher?
I actually... Did you say Terrence Fishburne?
Terrence Fisher.
Like, you just combining people?
I didn't say Fishburne, motherfucker.
It sounded like it. I'm just saying what I heard.
Clarence Williams.
Thank
was it.
you.
Clarence
Why
Williams
is it I couldn't
III.
remember his name when I actually needed to, but if we weren't recording, I'd have just said it. He makes fucking Tales from the Hood, man.
Dude, he does. That's the look. The craziest face, man. Those bug eyes.
Original VHS.
Oh shit.
That would have to be up there for my favorite anthologies. And get into some birthdays here. I don't know why I couldn't think of what the term is for when you're born. But 1889, master makeup artist Jack Pierce on May the 5th.
We talked all about him in that Bride of Frankenstein episode, so make sure you tune into that.
And 1940, fucking man himself, also... from another episode of Where Are the Monsters, the first one, Lance Hendrickson.
Legend, man.
Also born May the 5th. That's fucking coincidence.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
1940, a little bit later than our man Jack Pierce.
A little bit later.
A little bit later. With that said, I guess we'll get into a Puff Puff Ask.
Yo, man. Puff Puff Pass.
Puff Puff Ask is a segment of our show where we read off messages that you listeners write into us on social media at High on Horror 420 and email us at highonhorror420@gmail.com and through our website at highonhorror.com. I'll start here. I chose this one because it made me laugh. Mark R. Says, who would win in a fight, Chucky or Megan? And I gotta say that I'm a Chucky man through and through, but Megan would fuck Chucky up. None of Chucky's shit would work on her, man, whereas she'd fucking rip him limb from limb.
But he has a Dewey Day Dembella.
I wonder if he would be interested in an upgrade, if he would be like, if he could transfer someone to her, if he would accept that because she's like a robot.
Being Chucky, I figured it was going to revolve around sex.
Probably.
I feel like he's trying to go and fuck Megan. Tiffany gonna be real upset. Jennifer Titty gonna be real upset about that.
Who do you think would win though?
Oh, Megan, no doubt. That bitch was doing somersaults and bending backwards. She's got like a 2-foot height advantage.
Yeah, that's strumpf though, man. She got that strumpf.
But I would say, now that I think about it, it doesn't have to be an all in all Jesus motherfucking Christ. All out brawl. You know what the fuck I mean. An all out brawl.
Okay.
Thank you. This fucking weed, man. 2 episodes deep, a lot of bong packs. Anyway,
yeah, you make the excuses.
I'll make all the excuses. Anyway, he could use his smarts because she is, computer programmed.
Yeah.
So I feel like, Chucky doesn't necessarily have to fucking like pimp smack her around, but like he could find ways around it. But if they just straight duking, I'm going with Megan.
Yeah, 100%.
Sienna said, what is your favorite food to buy when you're seeing a movie? Mine's popcorn and red vines with a Diet Coke. I mean, look.
No, I just said the Diet Coke.
The Lazy Sunday, it's red vines and Mr. Pibb are crazy delicious. So I'm always getting a Pibb to drink, so I'll start there since I mentioned it. Call me sacrilegious or whatever, but Drew knows I fucking make a beeline for them Pizza Hut personal pan pizzas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I'm usually high as giraffe pussy, so I fucking crush that thing
like,
before
you inhaled
the movie.
I literally just see him hold a piece of pizza and he'll breathe. He'll go, and it's gone. I'm like, he's throwing the empty box on the floor, and I'm going, what?
Dude, I just crushed that pizza. Now, what me and my nephew did the one time is he got a cheese and I got a pepperoni. We just split it half and half.
Fucking.
But it's funny because like, by the time the previews are done, I've already scarfed that pizza down and I'm about halfway through my drink. But then I'm usually good because then, like, I'm kind of full. So then, like, that drink, that half, will usually just last me throughout the rest of the movie.
Right.
But yeah, so it's going to be pizza, a personal pan pepperoni, Pizza Hut pizza, a large Mr. Pibb. If I'm getting candy, I'd probably go like Reese's Pieces if they have them.
Okay.
If it's like a non-chocolate one, I'm going like Sour Patch Kids.
Oh, I love Sour Patch Kids. Yeah, for me, it would be cookie dough bites for candy.
Oh, you remember the ones we had at my movie theater?
The cookie dough bites?
Yeah.
No.
They were in that red box.
Is it the same ones that they have now? They're chocolate coated?
Yeah, they're chocolate coated. And like you can kind of get them at the dollar store,
yeah, those
too.
little rabbit turds, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, like little bunch of crunch Johns.
I don't like Bunch of Crunch, and I don't like popcorn. But Nicole had a mix one time, and I was like, holy shit.
Sam does that. My wife does that. She put popcorn and Bunch of Crunch together. She's like, try this. And I'm like, it's fucking delicious.
And I don't like either one, really. I'm not a big popcorn fan. Sorry to cut you off. I've worked at a movie theater. I know what they do with that popcorn.
I'm done. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. But yeah, for me it's the pretzel bites candy, or the cookie dough bites candy, and the pretzel bites for the food.
Ooh.
I love the pretzel bites with the cheese, the nacho cheese. And listen, a large non-diet Coke, large regular Coke for me with little ice. Keep that bitch cold and sweaty and full. And I will say that I haven't had red vines in a long time, but I definitely think I might get them next time. It's been a while.
The key is you use them as a straw.
Yeah. Yep. Because they got that little hole in them.
You got that little hole in them. You know what to do.
All right. Well, with that, on that note.
Oh, I was going to say, I just wanted to jump in. It's funny, this Puff Puff Ask is going longer because we're talking about food. But
speak for yourself.
Oh, wow. Pretzel bites, man, I fucking love them. They don't give you enough.
I was going to say, but you only get 6 of them bastards. 6 or 8.
Although the last time we went to movies 10, they were out of the package, like the little plastic trays. You remember?
Yeah.
They threw it in a hot dog container.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, and nachos are good too. But my movie theater, you remember we used to make the nachos and fucking jam them full of chips.
Yeah.
And now it's like you go and you get some fucking Tostitos bag.
It's a bag of tortilla chips that you open and dip in some pre-made. Yeah, it's not like made there anymore. Yeah.
Do you remember I had the nacho cheese machine at my house?
Yeah, I remember. I remember that was a dream of yours, and then you fucking had you
the movie theater closed down, and we had 2 of the cheese machines, and they let me take one, and we went and bought. Dude,
with all due respect, I'm surprised you're still here right now. Like, I bet you were wheezing the juice. You were doing that Pauly Shore shit, just drinking off the fountain.
Dude, let me tell you what we were doing.
Wheezing the juice.
My mom would fry up some ground beef. So we'd have like a pan of that, have the cheese in the machine, get some Tostitos like chips, and just put like ground beef and cheese on them shits. Oh man, that's fucking amazing. If I get a movie theater, that's what I'm gonna do. You can get like ground beef nachos.
It's gonna be called a nacho movie theater.
Yeah,
that's not a bad idea.
I would love to own a movie theater, but
Me too.
We probably lose so much money.
We would not be playing the right movies. We'd be like, Tuesday, everybody else is playing Avatar. We got Salo. Salo and a Serbian film, double bill.
On Titty Tuesday.
We'll get shut down the next day. All right, anyway, let's get on to the point here and talk about Motherly.
All right. right, getting into our film today. Motherly is a 2021 Canadian psychological horror film directed by today's guest, Craig David Wallace. And the film premiered on August 26, 2021 at the London Fright Fest Film Festival. It received positive reviews from critics and audiences alike. It was subsequently screened at several other Canadian and international film festivals before being released on video on demand on November 16th of 2021. And this is another one of those ones that you're going to get spoilers, but it's not really that much to talk about. It's more of a character-driven movie.
It's a character story, right?
And it's more, you get more stuff through dialogue and stuff than I feel like you can really convey in the plot. The story centers on Kate and her 9-year-old daughter, Beth, played by Tess Kozma, who lives in an isolated remote location. Hal's a police officer portrayed by Colin Paradine. He checks on him periodically. As Beth's 9th birthday approaches, she hopes her father, Brad, will visit her. However, it's revealed that Brad, who we don't ever see, committed suicide in prison after being convicted of murdering Beth's friend Courtney 2 years earlier. So, with her birthday, the Hal dude brings her a doll that she just doesn't give a shit about.
Yep.
And Hal's kind of a scumbag, but as we find out, he's really one of the better people in the film, actually.
Yeah, I mean...
it's funny, in the beginning, you're supposed to look at him as like he's one of the worst people, and then when you really look at everything, and as we'll go through here, he's probably one of the better people.
He is, but every man has his devil, or devils, and he's not perfect, but he's a decent character.
Yeah, that's my favorite line in the movie.
Which is?
You find out, like I said, we're going spoilers.
Okay,
so.
well, if you can't get
no. I'm just saying, like, we're giving away a spoiler, but I'm just saying we've already warned you that there's going to be spoilers. But he had previously cheated because Kate and her daughter in like witness protection, and he cheated before and slept with her, and he really was just checking on her and really wasn't doing anything, but his wife doesn't believe him. And he has a line, I'm not going to directly quote it, more just paraphrasing it, but he hangs up with her and is like, bitch. And he's like, fucking Hal's going to get laid. Like, shit had me dying.
He says that, but the thing that gets me is he also says something along the lines of, he's like, you think I'm off cheating? Might as well cheat or something like that. I'm like, well,
fair enough.
I mean, that's a hard way of looking at it, but no, it's he's a decent character, and he
redeems himself later.
Yeah, he's not so grimy.
Yeah, I mean, compared to the other people in this story. But one evening, Mary and Lewis, portrayed by Kristen McCullough and Nick Smith, respectively, break into Kate's home. They are convinced that Brad is innocent and that the evidence pointing to him is unreliable. It's also revealed that Mary had an affair with Brad, and Hal arrives just in time to see Lewis about to kill Kate. It's really, in between this, we just have a lot of just arguments trying to convince, really more not convincing each other, more trying to convince the audience as to who to believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, things obviously escalate as we know they're going to. And Hal arrives just in time because earlier he came back to the house, and like I said, he had given that doll to, why can't I remember the daughter's name? Beth. Beth. As a gift, and like I said, she didn't like it. And Hal asks if everything's okay, and she says, yeah, Beth's just playing with the doll that you got her for her birthday that she loves so much.
Yeah, obviously trying to indicate to him that like something's off, wrong. That we need help. That's her way of saying help.
Because he was there and saw that Beth did not
want
like
the
his
doll. Yeah. And
then you just see him leave, and it's funny because I was watching it with Nicole, and she's like, oh, you fucking asshole. You fucking should know that something's wrong. And then, like, you just see, like, the whole time he's driving, and you just see Hal come to the realization that, like, he knows all along something's wrong, but he realizes he has to do something about it. But, like, the closest cops are, like an hour away or something?
Yep.
So he decides to go back, and when he turns around, I was like, see, my man, Hal redeemed himself. He's going to go back. He ain't even going to wait. He ain't going to wait for the backup. Hal's going to do it himself.
Yeah, he went in. Yeah, he was ready to go down fighting, man.
Yeah, so he arrives just in time to see Lewis about to kill Kate, who is confessing to implicating Brad in an attempt to save Kate. Hal shoots Lewis, but then he's killed by Kate for learning what the truth is.
Yep.
And
turning a twist of events there.
Mary then incapacitates Kate and takes Beth with her. However, Kate manages to escape and track down Mary. They have a struggle between the two women, with Kate ultimately killing Mary. As the film draws to a close, the shocking truth is revealed. Beth is a psychopath and the true killer of Courtney. Kate had set Brad up to protect her daughter in a twist of events. Beth stabs her mother, claiming she's avenging her father's death, and leaves with a chilling grin. And, like, we'll talk about the darkest part of that movie is just Kate asking Beth, "Do you love me?" And she just doesn't give her any answer.
Doesn't give her an answer. Which is a clear no, but just to not answer leaves you dying.
It doesn't
that,
give
like,
you that full closure of her just saying no.
Yeah, exactly. Beth didn't get, Kate didn't get that closure that she was looking for.
The film ends with a stranger seeing Beth walking. She's just walking with the knife in her hand.
It was more like a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And offering to help her, unaware of the tragedy that just occurred. The credits roll, and it leaves us, the audience, little uneasy, and makes us wonder what might lie ahead for this
little
young,
girl.
Twisted motherfucker.
Yeah, man. Deep movie, very dark shit. What's your what do you rate it?
I would just say the movie, I mean, it did a good job of keeping you guessing throughout. There was times where, like, I went back to no, it just was the father. Like, it did a good job. It has a very tight runtime, which I think benefits for this movie, because there's not really very slow moments.
Yeah.
It just keeps moving. The performances from everyone are top notch, especially from the actress that played Beth. I can only remember her last name, Kozma. And then, she all kinds of emotion, and just an amazing job pulling it off. And Hal, my guy, it's a shame his head got blown off. Overall, Motherly's a gripping and disturbing exploration of a mother's love for her child, and the lengths she will go to protect her, and the consequences that follow. That's going to be an 8.4 out of 10 for me.
Nice. That was well said. I like how you said that. This movie isn't about the sins of the father; it's about the sins of the mother. And I
never thought of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you can tell that this is a Canadian movie because
What's that supposed to be a boot?
No, there are a lot of aboots in the movie. There's about 3 or 4 aboots that I caught, which it's fine, but it's just one of those ones where, you can immediately tell, Canadian, I gotcha. You slipped up.
We're from the Mid-Atlantic. We have our accent of water.
Yeah, we do, and we have our own slang too.
John.
Yep. but yeah, Motherly is an emotionally fueled home invasion revenge movie that deals with such themes as unconditional love, trauma, family, fear, mental illness, trust, deception, parenting, and more. It's like you said, it's brilliantly acted, and I can't say the word, brilliantly acted, and tells a story that will punch you in the nuts.
Wow.
It's beautifully shot.
Put that on the poster.
And like you said, well paced.
Motherly will punch you in the nuts. Drew Van Ness.
The mother, Kate, is not a likable character at first until you understand her. Like, she's uptight, overprotective to the point of smothering. She overreacts a lot as well. And I like that we see that they're going broke, because it adds to the emotional tension and lets us really kind of see the stress that Kate's under.
You say you don't like her till later, so you're saying at some point you do like the mother?
No, I guess not. I mean, I guess fair enough.
Because
That's
you
a good
said she's not
question.
likable at first. I was like, I don't know. She's I
not
could
really
see
ever
why somebody
likable.
would maybe then like her.
Yeah.
But
No, yeah, she's not ever really likable.
no.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? It's funny, just like as we talk about and do these episodes, and I never really think of this shit ahead of time. And then once we're in the midst of it, I'm like, holy shit, how many movies have we been doing with overbearing mothers lately? It's like none of this shit is ever besides Where Are the Monsters, none of this is ever like consciously set out to have themes, and they just kind of like naturally happen for us.
We just kind of keep having
like
episodes like this.
As I'll point out again, we had a Graham Spencer month that was never ever planned. We just, each movie we went to review, holy shit, Graham Spencer's in this.
And then he ended up being on our show.
God damn it, I keep calling him Graham Spencer.
It's what the fuck? Now you got me confused.
Graham Skipper.
Graham Skipper.
I hope he doesn't listen. I mean, I hope he listens to our show, but I hope he doesn't, because, man, I have messed up this guy. I don't know why I want him to be Graham Spencer so bad.
The funniest thing about this, though, is that after we reviewed like 3 of his movies in a row, then he was on our show as a guest. So we're like, my God, this really is Graham Spencer month.
Skipper.
I gotcha. I was trying to see if you were going to catch me.
Yes. But then I even did a good job calling him Graham Skipper for a while, and then I fucked up again. Sorry, Graham. It's the fucking weed.
Whoever Spencer Graham is, for some reason, that flows smoother off the tongue, don't it?
Yes. Oh,
Spencer
man.
Graham. Anyway.
And if anything, like, his name's not difficult like my fucking name. Like,
right.
I'm sorry, Graham. I'm a terrible person.
But let me read something to you from parentingforbrain.com.
Oh, they sound reliable.
What are overprotective parents? Overprotective parents show guarding behavior that is excessive, considering the child's developmental stage and the actual risk level in their environment. Overprotective parents' single-minded focus is to keep their children safe, not only physically, but also emotionally. And that's exactly what's going on here, with a twist. One thing, though, most children who are overprotected grow up to be extremely dependent on their parents, but that's not something that Kate has to worry about. Beth is out. She's not dependent on Kate
Kate's
at all.
out.
She couldn't. Beth couldn't care less. But one last thing here. The tagline for the film is "Mothers will do anything for their daughters," and that has a totally different meaning once you get to the end of the film. It still has a meaning, but it's a different meaning. And the ending is unforgivable and unforgettable. My one gripe is that the music is too broad and a bit too much at times, but that's nitpicking, and nothing is perfect. So I would give this one an 8.5 out of 10.
All right. Well, let's get on with our guest, Craig David Wallace, and we'll talk some more about the film.
Our guest today, Craig David Wallace, is a Canadian television and movie director, writer, and producer. He co-wrote and directed Motherly, his debut feature film. Craig David Wallace, thank you for being on High on Horror.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So you're here on High on Horror, so we always like to ask our questions, this question first. Do you indulge in cannabis for recreational or medicinal purposes?
Occasionally, yes. Yes, I do, especially, in Canada where it is completely legal.
Okay, so you say occasionally. How often?
I would say not that much. I'm getting on in years, and I got a lot of kids, so it's the opportunities are a little few for me.
Are you more of like a smoker or more of an edibles guy?
I'd say more of an edibles guy.
Yeah, now, I read you haven't always been a horror fan. You said in high school it kind of changed when your friend convinced you to go see Evil Dead 2. What was it about that film that changed your opinion?
Well, I think at the time I was just really, really scared of horror movies. The whole idea of horror movies just terrified me, just even thinking about them. And I had a friend who just really thought I would love Evil Dead 2. And so this was back in the days of VCRs and VHS tapes. And we rented it one night, and I was blown away because it was so funny and so just absolutely crazy. And I fell in love with Sam Raimi. I fell in love with Bruce Campbell. And if you ever saw my TV series, Todd and the Book of Pure Evil, you can see the influences from both of those figures all throughout the entire show. We just basically an homage to everything Sam Raimi.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to see Evil Dead 2 and not become a fan of Bruce Campbell after that.
No, absolutely. And then when Army of Darkness came out, I was lucky enough to be able to see that in theater. And there was a repertory theater nearby my house, and I must have seen it 12, 13 times in theater. I love
nice.
that movie. Yeah, I just
okay. So you were one of the people that liked it. A lot of people hated it after Evil Dead 2.
I think I could probably understand that if I had like grown up in that culture, but like me being, an impressionable teenager, I think Army of Darkness brought so much humor and just the sheer over the top madness of it all. It just blew me away. And when I started working professionally in film, actually before when I started really trying to be a filmmaker, I would just always gravitate towards Sam Raimi's aesthetic. I would always end up doing little gags like he would do and mounting things to the front of camera and having them fly around, and everything ended up being an Evil Dead reference and Army of Darkness reference at some point.
Now, did you end up catching Ash versus Evil Dead at all? Were you a fan if you did?
Strangely, I saw the first episode and I really enjoyed it. And I don't know why, but it might have been because I had spent so long doing my own show that was very similar to it many years before. There was this weird block for me where I was like, I have a hard time watching this because I had made my, I had done my show and I was watching another show about an evil book that was, I just wasn't there, so unfortunately. Nice. I've always meant to go back to it, but I never followed it through.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the series. I just wish it would have got more of a conclusion than what we got.
It was excellent.
Yeah. Now moving on here. The film, your film, went to Fright Fest. Did you have a good time with the festival experience?
Well, this is the weird thing about this film is, when we were filming it around halfway through production is when the pandemic really hit. And, the entire post-production and film festival release circuit, the entire thing was online and not in person. So it's weird because the film played in all these great places. It played in, at Fright Fest, it played in Finland, it played in Japan, it played all over the place. But it traveled further digitally than I did physically, if you want to put it that way. I mean, I enjoyed the festivals from the comfort of my home in lockdown. So, I don't really know. It's almost like it went on a journey without me. It had a great reception at Fright Fest. The reviews were awesome. But I didn't really get to participate in the festival, not in the way that you used to and that you're able to do now. So it was a weird experience. And I think anybody who made a film and released it during that time has a very similar story to tell.
Well, that's pretty cool, though. I mean, it sucks you didn't get to do the traveling, but to know that your movie was being seen and touring, on its own, and putting your name out there, that still had to be exciting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was super great. And as I said, the reception was really excellent. Like we had, some people really, really loved the film, and that was really great because once you spend so long working on developing something, you get so close to it. You're not really sure, you know what it means to you. You just don't know what it means to other people, and to have other people respond to it so enthusiastically, it was great.
Well, okay. So, I want to ask you, what made you want to direct something so emotionally heavy as Mother? As Motherly, I'm sorry.
That's cool. You know what? I don't think we set out to, my co-writer Ian Malone and I, we didn't set out to write something that emotional. It just became that. When we started out, yeah, I mean, I met Ian on Todd and the Book of Pure Evil. He was the story coordinator for my show, and we really hit it off. And after the show was finished, we wanted to I was like, I want to make a horror film. And, we were throwing around ideas, and we started, he was saying that he wanted to do a stalker movie. I'm like, okay, well, let's start developing this idea. And, it took us it took us 8 years, from that conversation to actually filming it. Wow. And during that time, we had gone through so many different versions of the film, and it just kept getting more and more. With every draft, it started focusing more and more on the emotions between the characters. And it really veered off from being a real horror movie into more of an emotional thriller. But the early drafts were much, much crazier, much gorier. There was more people involved. And a lot of it has to do with just the budgetary realities of getting a film made too. We kept, you scale back on one thing and then you end up amplifying something else. And in the end, it ended up being a very much more of a psychological character study than we expected it to be, and better for it, I think.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's kind of how everybody starts off when you're writing. I write books. I haven't published anything, but when I write, I write big, and then once you see everything, you kind of are like, all right, to make this more ideal or realistic, I'm gonna have to scale it back. So you went through the scaling back phases, and you kind of boiled it down to its its main ingredients only, and it's focused on that. And it's like what you did was take the heavy emotional tone, and you like threw that in a blender and mixed it with tense thriller.
Yeah, that's more or less what happened, indeed. Yeah, but it was an interesting process too, because you start off with characters who are more of ideas, and the more you live with them, the more you have them speak, the more they become real people in your mind, and you start living with them, and they start taking on a life of their own. And in the end, in a way, you feel like you're just really guiding these people through something rather than you creating them and telling them what to do. In a lot of ways, they're telling you what to do when you're writing.
Right, absolutely. Well, with content this dark, what was the tone like on set?
It was really interesting because, the tone was really, really great. It was, a small group of people. I do a lot of television where you have these crews of like 50 to 100 people. But with this, it was really, really going back to my roots. And it was a small crew of around 15 people. We were all living in this farmhouse or nearby in Airbnbs, just really tiny, really dedicated crews. So there's a real great sense of camaraderie, and it was really laid back, and it was really interesting because everybody got along so well. And so we would do these heavy duty emotional scenes, and then we'd cut and we'd all laugh over lunch and hang out, and then have to go back to this really, really dark place. But things got really weird when the pandemic hit, because when we started shooting, there was really no sign of it. There was some, news stories about a virus making its way through China. And then all of a sudden, we started hearing about other productions getting shut down. And it was just so fast, within 3 days, it was like, oh, should we even still be shooting? And we had a lot of conversations of like trying to figure out what to do, because there was no guidelines. Nobody knew what was going on. And the location we were shooting in, the barn was going to be torn down right after our shoot. So we knew we had to shoot that out. So we ended up going through everything and prioritizing everything that we had to film in order to get it, that we wouldn't be able to get if we stopped then and tried to go back later. And we talked to the crew. We just made, we went through with everybody and said, if you want to leave, that's totally cool. You'll still get paid for the rest of the shoot. We want everybody to feel safe. But we've got a day and a half left here that we need to get through here. And everybody wanted to stay on. And so we shot like hell, basically, and filmed everything that we could, and then shut everything down. So we had some gaps in the film when we first started editing it. And then we ended up around 6 months later shooting the rest of the film in a parking garage and just basically faking everything that we could in close-ups. So everything you see in the film of anybody driving and being in a car, that's almost exclusively in a parking lot or a parking garage that was shot 6 months later. So it was a very poor man's process, as they say. Hal's driving that car, and somebody's on the outside of the car rocking it back and forth. Somebody's twisting that light around. If he gets out by a tree, it's a potted plant that's placed just so far away from camera that you get a little bit of green. It was pretty crazy, but it was really fun to put all together.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like all the different ways to put that together. So it sounds like about 6 months you guys were shut down for COVID. I feel like a lot of people we've talked to feel like in some way pausing the movie helped them kind of work and refine stuff with their movies. Did you feel that way about Motherly?
To a certain extent. I mean, I don't think it really changed much. Like, we knew exactly what we needed to get to fill up the film. And for the most part, it was really with just the one actor, Colin, who played Hal. He was the only person we brought back. So everything else was pretty much locked. Okay. So, yeah, there was some reflection time, but it didn't really affect the film in any sort of real creative way. It would have been a better story if it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah, Kate in the movie, we kind of see her afraid of like the barn in the basement. So my fiance kind of caught on that, and she was wanted to know if she had like nyctophobia, you know, or if it was just her being scared of what we later find out of her daughter.
Yeah, I mean, we really wanted to show somebody who we wanted to portray somebody who had a sense of PTSD, and we wanted it to feel like she had been so traumatized by her past relationship that everything just affected her in this really anxious, intense way. And then later on, finding out that it wasn't PTSD at all. It was actually a very real fear of something that was right in front of her and something that she really loved. And that's where that all really came from. It's so interesting too, though, because so many of the things that you write in the script change when you find a location. You know, we had a barn obviously in our script, and that's how we found the house. But so much of it was trying to work around what we had, and you know, a practical location just doesn't fit exactly what you have in the script. And so there were things like that barn was really big and had a whole bottom part to it that we hadn't really thought about, and we were just always trying to build sequences around what we could find. And when we were shown by the owners of the house the little trap door in the closet leading down to the basement, we were like, oh God, we got to do something with this. And so we rewrote the whole ending of the film to have them go down there and have this secret door. And none of that was in the script at all. That was all just a happy accident of finding the place.
Oh, nice. It just grew organically and happened. That's awesome.
Yeah. But what's funny is that the linoleum flooring in the closet was really ripped up, and you could obviously see the door. And I spent a hell of a lot of time, and a friend of mine spent a hell of a lot of time painting it all out in After Effects to make it work. And the whole time I was just like, fuck, man, if we had just put new linoleum down just for that shot, I would have saved like weeks of my life. There's so many visual effects in that film that you don't see that are just trying to fix stuff up. Like, it was pouring rain throughout the entire shoot. And, well, not the entire shoot. It was like heavy rain on some days and then not heavy rain on other days. But you know, it's all one night. And so you would go from scene to scene where it's pouring out, and then there's no rain at all. And so I spent probably 2 weeks putting fake rain into like 60 shots, and it just looked horrible. And I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. And then I realized, oh, wait, maybe I should just go to the scenes where there's heavy rain and paint out the rain. And so then I just ended up taking out really big, like where you really could see the rain in big drops. I ended up taking that out of like 6 shots, and it made it a lot better. But it's just all that stuff you have to work through. Like there's some scenes where there's entire backgrounds that were pouring rain that I actually like cut out and put in new backgrounds with like handheld cameras and stuff. It was a bit of a nightmare, but you know, you kind of end up doing what you got to do. So I feel like I spent more time in visual effects fixing up stuff that nobody would ever see than pretty much anything else.
Well, I wanted to say about the emotion of the film. The dysfunction and trauma is believable, and I have PTSD. I've spoken about it before on this podcast, and it's one of the reasons that I smoke. It does help me, but to me, the trauma in the movie was incredibly believable, and the acting was so great. And I just wanted to know, like, did you or Ian, your co-writer, have know anyone who had issues like that helped you write like these things so genuinely, or did that just happen?
You know, it's kind of difficult to say. I mean, I was really going through a really difficult time with anxiety at the time that we were making the film, not of the film itself, but through some other issues. I was having, I was kind of in between antidepressants, and it wasn't really taking very well, which is probably news to, I think this is the first time I've actually talked about that. So anybody who worked on the film listening to this will probably go, oh, that was what was going on. So I'm sure
the High on Horror exclusive.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure a lot of that came out subconsciously, but I really have to give credit where credit is due, and that's really, you know, Laura Burke was just like amazing. She really took to the character. She just dove in there and just lived those moments, and just so realistically and heartbreakingly. And I think her dedication to that just brought everyone on board, and everybody just dialed into this incredibly emotional place. And I'm so glad that you really resonated with that, because walking away from this film, whenever you finish something, you're never really sure how it's going to be received. You're not even really sure how you feel about it. But the one thing I really felt strongly about this film is I felt like we got some really, really great performances that really, for me, rang true and were really emotional and really compelling. And I'm really glad that you feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I got to ask, if you had any parents come up and tell you that they related to Kate in any way, like that need to protect their child?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
I was saying, have you had anybody that's come up to you and kind of say that they could relate to Kate in that situation, like that need to kind of protect their child, even though the things they're doing, but just that need in the end to protect their child?
Strangely, no, I have not. But I mean, that is really where, you know, the genesis of the film came from. And it really came from that feeling of being, you know, you'll do anything to protect your children no matter what. And, you know, I have 3 kids, and that's really resonated with me through my life, and always wondering, you know, you can't help but wonder what if in different situations. But yeah, no, I'm interestingly, nobody's ever brought that up with me.
Well, going back to the acting, Laura Burke's performance, she was edgy and jittery, and yeah, she pulled it off great, and the emotion came through, her trauma came through. How did she get into character, and was she able to turn it off right away? Was it like you said, cut and she's all smiles, or was she like in go mode once she was in go mode?
You know, I wouldn't say she was a method actor. She's a consummate professional, just absolutely dedicated to her craft. But you know, she was incredibly prepared. We went through the script and really just arcing where she was at different times and trying to figure out, you know, what the intensity of where she was, you know, throughout each stage of the journey. But really, you know, I don't really know much about her process. We would talk about the scene, but more often than not, she would just go for it, and it was great. We'd, you know, adjust things here and there. Yeah, it was really, really, she had her own process. And, you know, after, you know, we cut, it wasn't like she would just snap out of it and be all smiles. There would definitely be an internal process going on, an internal toll. But I wouldn't say that she was overwhelmed by it. She disappeared in the role when the cameras were rolling, and she was a total professional when it wasn't. Just a lovely person to work with. Just fantastic.
Yeah, and continuing on the acting, Tessa Korsma did an amazing job. Was she just a natural when it came to being able to just display like all those different emotions she showed throughout the entire film?
I have to tell you that I was freaked out about casting this film. You know, we did it for such a low budget. We made it for 200,000 Canadian, which sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not much money at all to make a film. And because of that, we had to not use union actors in Toronto. There was a bunch of rules that we just weren't able to be able to do budget wise in order to go through the union. And we were so lucky to find the cast that we did, and especially Tessa. Tessa really came out of a cold audition, like a cold call audition. I was so scared that we weren't going to find a kid who would be able to pull this off. And just right from her first audition tape, we were just blown away by her. And I was just so constantly surprised by her just maturity and ability to pull stuff off. I mean, we never had any issues getting anywhere emotionally. She really understood what was going on, where it was going, and she always brought a little something extra to it too. And it was just really amazing watching her craft this character of Beth and really, disappearing into that role. And she very much would, you would cut and she would just be this really happy, really just great kid. She'd have her iPad and be doing drawing. I think she might be partly a robot. Maybe she was definitely the most accomplished child I think I have ever met. It was like we would shoot all night and then she'd be like, okay, I'm off to dance practice. And it's just like, what? Wait, you just stabbed somebody in the chest with like a pitchfork. She was going to dance, and she was always drawing on her iPad and doing schoolwork with her parents who were there, who were wonderful, by the way. They were just so supportive of her. I can't speak enough about how great her parents were. So in regards to the casting of this film, I'm so lucky. Everybody was great, and she was just awesome.
With her being so young, that had to, definitely take a huge burden off your shoulders and make your job a lot easier with her being that professional that young, because having a kid, that sounds like that would be the most challenging part of filming.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I did spent a good year and a half, directing kids television. So, I've worked with a lot of different kids from a lot of different, skill levels and acting abilities, and she was one of the best I've ever worked with, and it was a huge relief working with her. When we went into it, I was very protective. I was thinking of all these ways of like, how do we shield her from all of the bigger issues of the film, but it just soon became apparent that I really didn't need to, that she was really mature and really capable, and that she was able to just really be able to separate the film from life. Obviously, I mean, she's a smart kid, but also she was just talking about it like all the horror movies that she'd already seen. It was just like, oh, right, okay, yeah, you've seen The Exorcist. All right, okay, well that's cool, things like that. So yeah, it was no, she was great.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to say was that one of the things that I love about this movie, when I've seen the movie probably about 4 times, and every time, the one thing that I always, and my wife loves it, and the one thing that I always notice, and now I'm just thinking back to what you said earlier, and so I have to ask you, I'm kind of connecting the dots here. My thing was, I love that you just like let the camera focus on the actors for long periods of time and just let them like do their dialogue scenes without any cuts. Like you just let them do their thing and let the camera roll. Now, was that because of the COVID restrictions, or was that was that the way that you just wanted to film it?
It's just the way I wanted to film it. I mean, there's a certain point where, you come up with a shooting plan and an aesthetic for a film, and you try to follow it as best as you can. And, when you have really great acting, being able to do it in a way where you're not breaking it up, you're not cutting, is always really, really fun, and always finding ways of being able to do continuous shots. Like one of the things I had the most fun doing, I think we all had the most fun doing, is when Lewis is searching the house for Beth, and it's just this one long shot of Beth disappearing and then her being revealed that she climbed up to this little spot. And, just whenever you're doing something where you have little tricks where you have crew members who have to like get somebody up a ladder and then hide the ladder under a bed before the camera gets there, and just knowing that there's like all these people who are doing different things just outside of the camera, it's always fun. And I think people filmmakers really get into that. That's why you see so many like oneers in movies and TV, because you get excited about like, how long can you go before you cut?
Yeah, and I feel that also like really puts you in the movie. Like watching movies that do that, I feel like it puts you in the movie more, because it's like almost as if you're not watching a movie, you're watching a series of events unfold as opposed to watching it cut to the next scene. So I always feel that, especially in like emotionally tense movies, those types of shots are usually like the way to go to pull that shit off. So you did like a really good job of that.
It's interesting. Like when I really started getting into film, it was I guess early mid '90s, and films like Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet and Natural Born Killers, and all of those really hyperkinetic music video-y sort of films were really, really big. And it's really difficult for me to go back and watch those sort of films. It might just be because I'm older now, but everything cuts so fast, and it's really, there's a time and place for everything, and fast editing certainly has a really great place. I mean, George Miller doing Mad Max Fury Road is like the master of that. But being able to hold a shot and being able to hold the action, it's really great. You get a real emotional connection to what you're seeing. It's a real visceral holding on of your attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, the something else that I have to say is that the mom and dad could have had motive in killing the little girl. Like they could have had motive. If you think about it, you think it is them, so therefore there is like you can kind of put it together that it's them and that they might have had a motive for this reason or that reason. But Beth does not have a motive. So how or why did Beth become a psycho?
Well, I think that becomes a larger conversation on, what is the nature of evil, and what is, what drives somebody to do something like that. And interestingly, perhaps strangely, that was never really a question that was on our minds. We were firmly always thinking about Kate and Beth in relationship to Kate rather than where Beth was coming from. And I think maybe that's just the idea coming from being a parent, where you have somebody who you really love and you love unconditionally, even if you don't understand why they do what they do. And we were exploring that. We were wanting to explore how far does that go. And, I hope we got there. I mean, for me, it was always really about that last line that Kate says to Beth before she dies, where she tells Beth that she loves her and desperately, desperately wants Beth to say, I love you back. And she doesn't, and she dies. And that's all she wants, is her daughter to love her back the same way that she loves her. And she knows that she can't. And that was always what was really, really interesting to me. We've talked about one day maybe we'll do a sequel to the film where we're following Beth later on as she's older, and maybe that's something we'll explain in there. Maybe that's what we'll explore.
Yeah, no, actually, that was something I wanted to bring up at the end when Kate asked Beth, "Do you love me?" That scene's so heavy, and I think it's even better that Beth gives her no response, because she doesn't get that closure one way or the other, yes or no. Did you try any other takes and playing that any differently, or was that pretty straightforward with how you wanted it to go?
I think that was definitely shot that way, and we didn't do any other takes, but that whole sequence, like that dialogue, had been there from very, very early on. And, in so many ways, it really became like, I want to make this whole movie to get to this scene. This is what I want to make, is the scene here between
it's
these
a hell
two
of a
people.
scene.
Yeah. And so I'm glad it worked for you. And I'm glad that you went on the journey to get there.
Yeah, and I just like I said, I feel like it's just even better that there's no answer. So even if she told her no, she could know that it's a no, she doesn't love her, but she just gives her nothing one way or the other. Yep. And post credits now, what happens with Kate? Does she potentially have a new mom now, or her crime's going to catch up with her?
Well, I think we wanted to leave that a little bit open. You know, it's the woman who stops and finds Beth by the side of the road. I mean, she's finding this little girl covered in blood. But you know, it's a funny thing with films. You know, they end, and you can kind of you kind of wonder where everything goes because you know, obviously, at some point, someone's going to find Kate and Lewis and everyone in Hal at the house at the farmhouse all dead, and you know they're gonna you know eventually put together that Beth killed Kate. So you know you kind of got to wonder where that all goes. So that's the sequel. We'll figure that one out.
Well, besides Motherly and a potential sequel, are you going to do more horror? Do you have a plan of doing any more horror? And if you do want to do more horror, is there like a subgenre that you would want to tackle at some point? Like, do you want to do a slasher? Well, I guess you kind of did, but do you want to do like a supernatural horror film or something like that, or an exploitation film or something? Or is there anything you want to accomplish like that? Like any particular type of horror film that you're like, I want to put that under my belt before I retire as a director?
Oh, absolutely. And I think really when you talk to anybody who's, you know, making stuff, they've got 10 projects that they're trying to get off the ground at any given time. And I'm no different. You know, I've got a whole bunch of different projects and a whole bunch of different genres. Well, not a whole bunch of different genres, but a whole bunch of different ideas going around. But they're always genre. They're always really horror oriented. But really specifically to answer your question, I loved making Motherly. I loved the film. I'm so happy that we made it. But it's interesting bringing out a film that is more of a emotional thriller than a horror movie. It's very difficult it's really difficult to market. It's really difficult to sell, especially if you don't have some sort of really recognizable person in the main cast. And I think from that, you know, I mean, I always love supernatural horror, but that's the one thing that's really missing from Motherly is the supernatural, and that's definitely something that's much more supernatural rooted is the way all my projects are going at the moment.
Oh, nice. And we want to thank you again for joining us. And before we go, do you have any of those upcoming projects you'd be able to talk about now?
Not really. They're all in either various stages of being written or being shopped around. I've got another television series that I'm hoping to get off the ground, which would be awesome. Of course, just getting anything made is awesome. But you know, Ian Malone wrote this really, really crazy, just really insane horror film that I just love. We're trying to get that set up right now, and I've got lots of little things brewing. So, you know, fingers crossed we can get it off the ground.
Yeah, hopefully those work out for you. And where can people keep up with your upcoming projects?
Oh, I'm really bad with that, which, you know, might be one of the reasons why it's hard for me to get projects off the ground. I am on Twitter. I am the Craig Wallace on Twitter, but I very rarely post on Twitter, but if you ever see me post on Twitter, that means you know you're following with something that's concrete that's happening. I'm not really one of those people who like. Some people are really good at like hyping up stuff that doesn't exist yet, and they just hype it up to the point where it comes into reality because they've hyped it up so much. I'm much more the kind of person where like I don't tell anybody what I'm doing until it's done and I'm releasing it on the world. So for better or for worse, that's just what I'm comfortable with. And so, you know, it'll just spring up on you. It'll spring up on you like Beth with a knife in a closet, you know, before you won't even notice, and there it'll be.
Well, yeah, again, we want to thank you for joining us today. Motherly's an amazing movie. It's a hell of a ride. I can't praise it enough. I'm glad Drew got me to watch it, and we're glad that we're able to talk to you about it today.
Well,
hopefully we can have you on again in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. Please keep in touch. And this was really great. And just thank you so much for watching the film and responding so positively for it.
Our pleasure.
It really means a lot to me.
Yeah, man. Thank you for making the time. It was great talking to you. Take care.
Right on. Okay. Take care, guys.
All right. Well, thank you to today's guest, Craig David Wallace, for joining us. Thanks to all the horror hounds and smokers out there for tuning in. And make sure to follow us online at High on Horror 420 at Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I think I got all 4 of those right.
Yeah.
I don't know why I struggle each week. They're all set in a different order each week, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, damn, and then I realized we recorded another episode that's technically a couple weeks before this, right?
Yeah.
I forgot all about telling people to write in for Puff Puff Ask on that one, so I'll remind you on this one. highonhorror420 at gmail.com. Check out our website, highonhorror.com. Sign up for our newsletter. You can check out some reviews on the site. You can follow me fucking experiencing the Buffy TV show for the first time.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Fucking, when it come out, 1997 or some shit.
Yeah. About that.
Yeah, so... I mean, I guess I should know. I just fucking wrote about it. But
yeah, what are you asking me for? You're the one writing fucking essays on it.
I'm too high to be thinking. It's like,
fair enough.
What the hell time are we recording it right now?
It's 3:13 in the morning, and we're on our second episode of the night.
Yeah,
and
so
like 7 or 8 bong packs in.
Yeah, so highonhorror.com. Check that shit out. Then next week we're gonna be bringing you a little bit of an older movie, but
a very important movie that you might not know about.
Yeah, Collinswood up to no good.
No.
The Collinswood story, and we'll be joined by Mike Mendoza, and so keep your eyes out for that bitch. I mean, he's not a bitch. I'm talking about the episode.
Yes, keep your eyes out for the episode.
We're not talking shit on our guests. I didn't mean he's a bitch. I meant the episode's the bitch. Check that bitch out. Anyway, I'll stop talking now.
Yeah.
Catch you later.
See you next week.